It's pretty crazy that we've already gotten to the end of 2025. In just a couple of days, basically, we are going to be in the new year. And of course, we all know that Battlefield 6 has been a huge deal so far this year. I've talked about before the numbers that Battlefield 6 has seen, how it's the best-selling game of 2025. It's pretty interesting what Battlefield 6 has been able to do for the Battlefield name. Not to mention, Call of Duty had one of its worst years in a long time, and it's pretty obvious that Activision did not consider Black Ops 7 to be a success. In fact, Activision actually pretty much apologized for what happened with Black Ops 7. For whatever reasons, it looks like people just weren't interested in Call of Duty this year, and of course people looked for alternatives in games like Battlefield, and then of course the other competitor for Call of Duty, I guess you could say, was Arc Raiders. Although I'm not the biggest fan of Arc Raiders myself, I do understand that it's been a pretty stable game thus far. However, when we're looking at Battlefield 6, despite the fact that the hype was insane, it looks like the numbers have kind of waned off a bit, and the player count has, according to some statistics, at least on Steam, dropped about 80%. Now, I don't think that Battlefield 6 is in trouble. I don't think that Battlefield 6 is dead or anything like that, and I don't think that it fell off. What I do think, however, is that there are a couple of factors involved here, such as people just playing other games, and pretty much the majority of the player base of Battlefield tends to skew a little bit older, meaning that people have full-time jobs, families, and honestly, it's just one of those games you don't have to really grind necessarily if you don't care to. You could just hop on, play a few games of Escalation, Conquest, Breakthrough, whatever it may be, hop off and go about the rest of your day. It doesn't encourage as much of an insane grind unless you're buying into the Battle Pass and things like that in the way that Call of Duty does with all those unlockable camos. It doesn't really feel like Battlefield players care about those things as much. Some people definitely do, and I'm not negating that, but of course you can play the game as long as you want or as little as you want and basically get the same amount of enjoyment across the board. But in today's video, what I really want to go through is what I'm hoping to see from Battlefield 6 throughout the next year, because as we know, Battlefield games tend to last for quite a while. So what I'm expecting, what I'm hoping, these sorts of things, that's all what I'm going to be covering in today's video. But before we do that, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications set to all so you can stay up to date with all of the Battlefield 6 content here in the channel, and let's just dive right on into it. First things first, I would say the biggest thing that I would hope to see from Battlefield 6 next year is way better maps. I think that we can all agree at this point, after so long of the game being out, that the maps are just not the strong suit of this game. While the gameplay is a lot of fun, and every time I log on to Battlefield 6 I enjoy it and I don't want to get off, I do actually think that the maps are hindering the experience, because overall the gunplay is great and I really enjoy just the flow of the modes in Battlefield. I just think that the maps are not complementing the game well, and I think that that's kind of partially the reason why DICE is struggling to balance the modes in this game. As we all know, they did some changes with Breakthrough that just weren't very popular, and I think that ultimately the biggest problem for that has to be the map design. Whether it's too small or it's too condensed or whatever your personal complaints are about the maps, for the most part I just think that they are currently the weakest link in Battlefield 6. I like the direction that they took with Eastwood, and I think that that sort of layout and style of map was great. Now the thing is, I don't think that we need maps that are too big. I've seen some people that kind of talked about on Reddit, for instance, how they wished that some of the maps were more similar to the maps in Battlefield 2042, and I think that that might be a little bit of an exaggeration here. You see, Battlefield 2042 was not the worst game on Earth, it certainly wasn't the best game ever, and it was not a great Battlefield game for a lot of reasons, but one of the biggest problems with Battlefield 2042 was just the sheer size of the maps made it so that 90% of the games you played, you were basically just running around and not really doing anything, then you get sniped from halfway across the map and the cycle repeats itself. It was effectively a walking simulator, because if you guys remember, Battlefield 2042 was actually initially meant to be a battle royale style, and so those maps were actually designed to fit that large-scale battle royale thing. Basically what we're seeing with Fort Linden in RedSec, that's a battle royale map, and obviously some of the 2042 maps were just big. I can't recall 100% if they were as big as Fort Linden or anything like that, but they were huge. I don't think that to correct the problem in Battlefield 6 we have to overcorrect to that extent, but I think the problem that happened in Battlefield 6 was an overcorrection in the first place, where they didn't want to repeat the mistake of the 2042 map sizes, challenges, and so they feared that people would be annoyed if they made the maps big again and that they would get those complaints. But now the problem is they overcorrected so much that we have such small maps that it's making it really difficult to enjoy the actual flow of the Battlefield 6 modes that we have. Now the thing is, a lot of people have said that these maps appeal more to the Call of Duty player base. They are a bit larger, right, than what we'd expect to see in Call of Duty. So I don't necessarily think that's the case. I just think that in the effort of appealing to everyone and appeasing everyone after the mistakes of 2042, that they sort of kind of dropped the ball on the sizing. I think that maps like Eastwood are solid in terms of design. I think that if they could be extended a little more and had that ceiling for the actual flight vehicles to be better, then the maps would be significantly more improved. And it would also solve the problem with the balancing of modes like Breakthrough, where they won't have to change the vehicle balance and the consistent locations of those sectors all the time just to fix this situation. Because right now with Breakthrough, the problem is still being a defender is not that fun. Now, hopefully that these next few maps that we're going to get are going to be larger and that we actually will be able to enjoy these sorts of modes on those maps. I also think we need more maps per season. That's something that I'm really hoping that Battlefield 6 does, because currently just dropping 2 maps across a whole season doesn't feel like it's enough. It's really easy to get fatigued from just playing those same maps over and over, especially because they're pretty lackluster in the current state of the game. So I do think that more maps, better maps, and a couple of older Battlefield maps that are remastered to fit this game will be a lot better. I think that that combination could really sell the next couple of seasons, and I think Battlefield can really recover from the problems that occurred in Season 1. Now, obviously, I would hope that Battlefield 6's future updates don't break a bunch of stuff in the game, but I think that might be a bit too much of an ask. I don't know what it is with just the way the engine works maybe, or something around that, but it just seems like the updates always break something and then it takes about a day to fix those things that it broke. Though hopefully we will never have to see that UI breaking bug that happened with the Winter Offensive update, because it actually made the game quite literally unplayable on day 1 of that update. What I'm hoping as well for the next couple of seasons is that they really adjust the way challenges work. Currently, some of the challenges they keep dropping are very bizarre, and also I just really don't want to see RedSec challenges being forced on players, and I don't think that the re-rolls are enough. I was looking back at some of the challenges I didn't complete in previous weeks, and I noticed that basically all the ones I didn't touch were Battle Royale and RedSec related, and Gauntlet and things like that. I just don't want to play those modes, and I don't really think that a free-to-play thing being forced on Battlefield 6 players just makes any sense, and I'm gonna keep saying this until something changes for the most part. Of course, I'm hoping to see more weapons, more of a variety of weapons, and some better skins. Right now, the skins in Battlefield 6 are, especially the ones in the Battle Pass and in the shop, not that great. I honestly do think that the skins in the base game are significantly better than anything that we've seen so far in the more premium offerings. For instance, a lot of the Winter Offensive skins, I just really don't get what the design choices were, especially that one that has that red mask on its face. The overall skin looks great, and then you look at the red mask and it just kind of ruins the whole thing. So I just think that I don't want them to be boring. Obviously, when you're selling a premium skin, you don't want it to look boring, but I do think that some better design choices should be made. So I just think that they can take a little more inspiration from real world militaries, special operations forces, these sorts of things. I'm not saying it has to be a copy of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019, but maybe a higher quality of skins. Because right now, basically have a skins feel in this game. It's kind of like when you play an RPG and you collect a bunch of armor or something like that, and you put just together the most cursed looking armor ever, and it's not right, but you're just kind of doing it for stats. It's funny in an RPG and it makes sense because you're doing it for stats, but in a game like this, I don't really see why it kind of has that vibe. Beyond this, of course, what I'm really hoping to see from Battlefield 6 is just an overall improvement in the actual pacing of content. Because you see, the problem right now with what happened in Season 1 is we're at the end of Season 1 and the pacing was not that great. There was too much downtime between the last content update and the next season, and we also don't even know when Season 2 starts. It looks like the season is going to start mid-January, but that's a long time without any new content, especially because we didn't get a new map and the Winter Offensive update is not really there anymore, the Ice Lock stuff. So I just really think that it doesn't make sense for the content pacing to be like this, because in the current state of video games, maybe this style would have worked 10 years ago, but in the current state of gaming, it's like all the time. You have to be constantly adding stuff all the time. It's just the nature of people's attention spans, the nature of the world, the nature of just the style of everything, just doing that old system where you released content in a sparse amount of time. And I know Battlefield used to do the packs where it's like you have the premium content and they would just like release it at a single time and things like that. That kind of system may have worked a long time ago, but in the current day, it's not really the way people's pacing works. I just think people need their attention to be kind of constantly kept, which is definitely annoying, and it does kind of make for a lot of the problems we're seeing in the games industry today. But I think if Battlefield just wants to remain competitive, that's the nature of what it is. It has to be that way. Obviously, these maps take time, so we can't expect them to be dropping a constant map every other day. It takes months apparently to build those maps, which obviously we can't expect them to have so many, but I just think that we need more than 2 maps a season. I feel like that's quite normal, or at least reasonable enough, especially because the maps right now aren't that great. So if we got some fresh maps, remastered older maps, that would do a good job of bringing people back and having people actually enjoy the game. And also, the Battle Pass. The Battle Pass system needs to change. So when the Battle Pass was first announced for Season 1, I thought it was a really cool idea that they had the tiers and that you could pick which path and that they would add bonus paths. If you're not playing this game no life full-time job style, you quite literally, like, it's impossible to complete that Battle Pass. Let me put it at this. If you're not grinding this game 24/7 basically, there is no way you're completing that Battle Pass unless you're buying a bunch of tier skips. It is so bizarre how the system works for this Battle Pass. It's probably one of the craziest Battle Pass systems I have seen in an FPS game ever. It just takes way too much time, completely unreasonable how much time it takes. When I was playing Black Ops 6, I had the Vault Edition, I think is what it was. That's what it was called, and you got 25 tier skips, and I was able to reasonably finish that, and I was not no-lifing Black Ops 6. I was playing max 2-3 hours a day, sometimes a couple of days a week, and I was able to finish that Battle Pass. I think the only Battle Pass I didn't get to finish was I think the Season 3 one. That's because I just genuinely wasn't really playing that much. So I mean, obviously when I was playing a couple hours here and there, it made sense. The way Battlefield 6 did it is crazy. I don't know how grindy this Battle Pass is. It's just unreasonable. And the little tracks they keep throwing in here and there, I didn't have time to finish them. So I don't know what's up with the system they did, but I really hope in 2026 for the next couple of seasons that they just adjust how much XP it takes, and also the way that you have to get Battle Pass points through the challenges. I hate that. Like, genuinely, could it just please just be XP related? That makes way more sense, that you can get points in a reasonable amount of XP and not need to get points through challenges. I really don't like the way it's set up, especially because a lot of these challenges are either RedSec related or unreasonable, or just they take too long to complete. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say for this video. Those are the big things that I wanted to cover. Let me know if you guys have anything else you'd like to see for Battlefield 6 in 2026 in the comments below. Leave a like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications set to all so you can stay up to date with all of the content here in the channel. And that's all for today, folks.